Welcome to the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Microsoft Speakers Community Call. We are live with the community. Today is November 28th. I am your host, filling in for Vesa Juvonen today, David Warner. He is out at ESPC with many of our friends, so we look forward to hearing all the fun that they had and living vicariously through them. But first, we've got a call today, and we're going to get the latest updates and news on Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, some of the latest across the blogs. We're going to have our great picture time moments together. So get those cameras ready. And then we got two fantastic demos today. Dan is back continuing his series using Microsoft Graph to retrieve emails and calendar events for your solution. And then our favorite and one and only Sébastien Levert is here introducing Microsoft Graph Toolkit chat components. So exciting stuff on the horizon for us in this call. First, though, let's review some resources that are available to each and every one of you at absolutely no cost in our community. The first is our community videos brought to you by members of Microsoft, members of the community. We're working together. It's a fantastic way to keep up to date and learn about all the wonderful things that we work with each and every day via videos. We've got our LinkedIn group for discussions and updates, our open source tooling like PNP.js, CLI for Microsoft 365, and other fantastic tools. PowerShell, because I see Todd staring at me like, you didn't mention PowerShell yet. We've got a ton of sample galleries available across Teams, SPFX, Power Platform, list formatting. It goes on and on and on, and they are all absolutely free. You only need to remember one URL, and that is our community home URL, ak.ms/community/home. Will take you and get you into all of these things. In fact, you might even say it'll power you up. So we've got you covered, no problem. Take advantage of all of these tools and resources. Now, you might be thinking, I like this call. You might not, but we hope you do. So if you are here and you are enjoying yourself, then we got plenty more for you. Our Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Microsoft Community Calls is ongoing with Microsoft speakers every Tuesday. That's the one you're on right now. Now, it's going to be on a holiday break from the 20th of December to the 8th of January. As we know, everybody's going to be taking some time off. We want you to spend that time with your family and loved ones and enjoy the break from all the chaos and the work that we're always doing together. We've got our monthly Power Platform call, Office add-ins, and then, of course, our bi-weekly Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community and Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework. Those are on Thursdays bi-weekly, so we're always there for you every Thursday. Those will not have a break, only the Microsoft speakers call, because we know that a lot of folks in Microsoft are going to be taking time off. So we hope you are too. But our community calls, based by the community, those will be here every single week. You can get the recurrent invites from ak.ms/community/calls. Definitely take advantage of those. Get them on your calendar because they are fantastic. I always call them a crystal ball into the what's now, what's new, what's next. So you're always going to see what everybody else is doing in the world of our technology. And you may think, I want to show off some cool stuff. I got some really cool stuff to show. Even if you think, I got some quasi-cool stuff, some demi-cool stuff, some semi-cool stuff. We want to see that too, because it's still cool stuff. So don't overthink it, everybody. You're all welcome to present on this call. We invite you to submit a request. All you got to do is fill out this form, ak.ms/community/request/demo. Rolls right off the tongue. I know you've already memorized it because it's just so easy. But we do want to see what you're working on. Even if you think, I'm not sure if anybody else is going to think this is cool, I promise you, we think it'll be cool. So take advantage of this. And if you've never, ever presented, that's A-okay too. We'll buddy you up with someone. So just let us know in the notes that you're looking for a buddy, and we got your back. We'll get you taken care of. All right. Well, we've got plenty of assets about the Microsoft Cloud for you. We've got our dev program, our getting started, learning modules. All of that is available to you. Definitely take advantage of it. Absolutely no cost. You can get that at these variety of URLs, which we'll put into the chat. So definitely take advantage of that. As you want to keep up with those in the community, we've got our Microsoft 365 and Power Platform shows. We've got our M365 PNP Weekly with Vesa and Waldick, who are hosted every single week. We've got the Microsoft community at LinkedIn with Mondays at Microsoft, Caruana and Heather. Hugo and myself are doing our regular Power Platform connections, spinning that back up soon. And then, of course, the Microsoft 365 Dev Podcast with Jeremy Thake and Paul Schaeflin. So if you'd like to see any of those, you can go to the variety of these URLs to take advantage of them and see some that have been recorded in the past. Just binge watch them one day when you're taking time off. It's always a good time. All right, our samples. We have so many samples because of all of you. Over 1,700. How crazy is that? So I know Todd's counting each and every one of them. He's running out of fingers and toes, but he is going to catch up. So these are available, absolutely no cost. They are made to use, to build on, to learn, to share. definitely take advantage of them absolutely free. And if you're thinking, I want to show some of my samples, I've created some cool stuff. Well, we are getting everything spun back up with our Sharing is Caring program. We know it's a little bit been on hiatus, but now I'm back from vacation, and Hugo is settling into his new position. And so we're getting things set back up within the community. And we are setting up some office hours, some videos, and all of the like, trying to make it more scalable and accessible to everyone to get to know how you can contribute via GitHub. For example, if you've never done a pull request, or I don't even know what a pull request is, we'll take care of you, and we'll do it live, hands-on, safe space, no recording, so that you feel confident to come into the community and contribute. Now, once you do contribute, we want to recognize you for the amazing things that you're doing, which is our recognition program. So these are badges powered by Credly, absolutely no cost. We've got some fun thematic badges for the seasons, season of getting, slice of samples. Some of those I was just processing this morning. It just went out, so keep an eye on your emails if you're expecting a badge. If you did not opt in, we don't know who you are to connect to you. So go to ak.ms/community/recognition and sign up, opt in, give us your GitHub account, give us your email, and we'll start tracking you in a fun, cool way to take advantage of giving you all these badges that are super cool to share. Put them on your LinkedIn profile, share them on Twitter, put them on your resume or blog. It shows that you are making a real accredited official difference in the community. So we appreciate all that you're doing. It's one of our ways to saying thank you and giving back. All right, we've got some conferences coming up. So coming up in April and May is the Microsoft 365 conference. We're really excited about that. So you can get access to that at m365conf.com. We've got our 365 EduCon series coming up in 2024, a variety of locations, fantastic cities. So definitely look to where you can take advantage of most and enjoy the camaraderie of the community. Of course, we have many other upcoming community events, which you can find at communitydays.org. Definitely take advantage of submitting your event for that location as well. So it is absolutely free to put it up there. Just check it out at communitydays.org. All right. Well, what time is it? Woo! Picture time. So turn those cameras on. I'll turn mine on, and let's start getting into together mode. There we go. Let's go auditorium dark. Winter is coming, right? So, all right, come on, teams. No, no. You can do it, teams. Come on, teams. You can do it. Don't. Let's try. Change the scene. Maybe we can get. Well, as if. Teams. Let's try and get large gallery. Teams no likey today. Oh, wait. I don't see anybody. So we can get a small gallery. Well, I got a small. Oh, there we go. Things are turning on. Let's try this again. Well, fine. Be that way, teams. Okay, we'll just go back to the gallery. I think we at least got a few. This may even look a little better. We're all in our natural habitat. So give me just 1 second. There we go. Move that off. All right, 3, 2, 1. We will turn this into it together. All right, there's Seb. He's got it going. Dan, Stephanie, Todd's doing the dance. Say hello to everybody. Looking great. You all look fantastic. Excellent. Okay. We got something. Something's better than nothing, right? Now, let's move into our fantastic presenters of the day. So we're going to kick it over to Dan, who's going to continue his series on using Microsoft Graph to retrieve emails and calendar events for your solution. Dan, take it away. Oh, we can't hear you. I see you unmuted, but I don't hear you. Nope, I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear him? Okay, he said just 1 second. So what we'll do is we will just go ahead and
okay, you can probably hear me now.
I can. It's going to be a very special moment with Dan Wahlin. Take it away.
All right. I was literally just saying I'm being a little too ambitious probably because I am on a really early ring of internal testing for Teams, and I realized that right as I jumped in this morning. So hey, such is life. We'll just we'll roll with it here.
There you go.
So you able to see my screen okay too? We'll double check everything.
Yep, I don't see the slides. I don't know if you're starting out with slides, but I only see
I'm going to move to them now. Now you should be able to see them. But
yep.
All good?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, nothing like a little technology fun to start things off. Yeah, I decided to move to a newer internal testing ring, and that reset some of my settings, I realized. But hey, great to be back with everybody. We are on our final session here. So those that have been with me for all 12 times, well, myself and Aicha, she joined us for 2 of those. Hopefully there's been some interesting insights. Now, those that haven't, all of what's been done up to this point has been recorded. We have a tutorial you can go through, all that fun stuff. But today, we're going to talk about how Microsoft Graph can be used for email and calendar events, and how we could actually integrate that into an app to just make it that much easier for your users to go find what they need. So this will build on what I did in the last session, session 11, and then we'll go from there. So for those that don't know me, maybe this is your first time joining, we've been going through this, taking your line of business apps to the next level. My name's Dan Wahlin. I'm at Microsoft. And this has been a fun little exercise in just breaking down little parts of the app to discuss what you can do to kind of help your users be more productive, more creative, all those fun things. So with that, we again are going to focus specifically on email and calendar events and on a Microsoft Graph Toolkit component. And we have Sébastien here today. So great timing, actually, given that he is over that awesomeness. So if you haven't joined us at all, there were 3 main parts to the app. We've covered AI features, and we went into a whole bunch on Azure OpenAI, how you could chat with data in your own documents even, and a bunch more there. We also went into communication features. We talked about how you can make phone calls from an app. There's a lot of apps actually that could benefit from that I've worked on over the years. I won't say it's appropriate for every app, but a lot of the ones I have worked on, they were on the phone a lot to verify things that were in the app with people. Also sending email and SMS messages. You could do that, and that also tied into the Azure OpenAI functionality to help generate some of those messages. But we are on the last part of this bring organizational data into your apps, and given that we're in a Microsoft 365 community call, a lot of you probably have done something like this, but for those that haven't, I'm going to speak more to you because there's really some awesome opportunities to bring this data right into your apps. So with that, let's jump into the demo again, just in case you haven't seen all of this. And in fact, let me just close that guy. So a really simple line of business app that allows you to view related content for a customer. Now, the kind of storyline here I've been talking about the last few weeks has been, if you're like me, in fact, I just did this yesterday. We're due for some of our review processes, kind of our mid-year review processes coming up. And so I'm jumping all over the place. I'm jumping to Teams, I'm jumping to Outlook, I'm jumping to OneDrive to check out files. And it's really easy just to lose track of what you were doing in the first place. Because if you're like me, you just get distracted easily. So this would be an example of when they select like a Datum Corporation here and view related content, you'll notice it pulls in some information. And the 2 we're going to focus on this time, last week we focused on these 2, OneDrive for business files and Teams chats, and even how you could send a message into Teams channel. But this time we're going to talk about email, and we're going to talk about calendar events and how you can bring those in and format them. And I'm going to show you 2 ways we could do this. We could do it with pure Microsoft Graph, or you could do the awesomeness of Microsoft Graph Toolkit, which I'll get into in a moment. And I'm going to show you kind of both approaches. I started out with just pure Microsoft Graph. And then luckily, Seb and Gavin were the 2 I worked with the most on this. They came up with this phenomenal idea of, hey, what if we just made it so you could do this type of thing without having to write all the Microsoft Graph code? And that's where this new MGT search results component is going to come in. We looked at it a little bit last week, but I have a little bit more and a cool trick you can do this week. Now, if you haven't seen the app at all, you can also go in, and as I mentioned, you can make phone calls actually from the app, or you can use AI, order is delayed, and then I'm going to generate an email or SMS message right in a mystery novel format. I don't know. making this up here. Let's see what it does. But this would tie into the Azure Communication Services. Sorry to inform you there's been a delay in processing. Okay, that one's not that exciting. I did one earlier with a different thing, and it was a little more exciting. But anyway, we could kind of play with that. But then we could use Azure Communication Services to send the email, or we could send an SMS message. So in addition to phone calling, you could do these type of things right from your app. Not hard to set up, by the way, if you haven't done it. But what I want to now focus on is back to this part. So what can we do to bring in email or calendar events or things like that, but not have to write all the code to make that happen? It's not that we don't want to write all the code. I mean, come on, writing code's fun, but what if we could just simplify that process some? And we can. So if we go back over to the app, let me zoom this a bit for you. You're going to notice that I have a calendar events component on the front end, and I have an emails component on the front end. So let's take a look at the email one first. And you're going to notice I have this MGT search results. And last week I talked a little bit about this, introduced it. And this is just a really, really cool web component. And if you're new to web components, again, they can be used all over the place, not just in like React or, pure JavaScript, but also in Angular apps or Vue apps or Solid or whatever it is you're doing. As long as it's web-based, you could do something like that. So you'll notice that I have a custom CSS class and then this entity types. Now, entity types message is for email messages, as you would probably infer. And then that's going to tell it kind of what we're after. If I go back to what we covered last week, let's go to files. Notice it was entity types drive item because it ties into OneDrive for Business. So just by customizing the type of entity that you want, it'll automatically know what to go get based upon that. Now, we also need to send it the search text. So I have this little query string here. This is the property they provide of what is it we're trying to query on. Well, if we go back, right now we're trying to query on a datum corporation, or if I were to come down to, Tailwind Traders here, now we're querying on Tailwind Traders, and you'll see this works because as I type things like Tailwind Traders 2, you'll see nothing's found here. It's just kind of empty. But let's take that off. We'll do a live query here, and well, we'll give it a sec. It might take a moment to come back, but it should. Oh, I went back to Tailwind. Yeah, they don't actually apparently have any. Yeah, okay. I guess they don't have any. Let's go back to a datum. And okay, it has 2. So you could see that way we could tie into all kinds of resources out there and not have to write a lot of code to do it. And that's done with this query string. And if you're not familiar with this little square bracket, don't worry about that. This is an Angular app. That's just data binding to properties. It's basically saying, take the value they typed in that text box I showed you and assign it to this MGT search results query string property. Now, that's all pretty straightforward. If you've done anything on front-end apps before, you've probably used components like this. Pretty straightforward. Now, what's a little bit unique here is notice this data change. Now, this is an event that fires. And before we go too far, I want to go over to the docs with you. And so if we go to the docs, in fact, I'm going to bring this back up really quick. And I'm just going to paste this in for you. So this is the search results documentation. And give me 1 second, I'll throw that in. There we go. And then the next one I'm going to show you is this guy, which I showed a little bit last week. And this is a way to run things live. So we're going to look at both of these really quickly. Now, if we dive on into this, first off, you're going to have the ability to actually try this out live. This ties into what I'm going to show you next, which is super, super cool because you don't have to invest a lot of time. You can actually try it out, see how it looks, and then, customize it. Now, right now, this is doing drive item, but of course, we could change to something like message right here. Super, super cool. Now, in this case, there may not be any for this particular, whatever they're using for the sample data. So I'll go back to drive item, but you get the idea. Now, what I wanted to show you here is if we scroll on down, here's the entity types. You'll notice drive item, list item, site, and a whole bunch of others. There's message as an example. Really, really easy to get that type of data. Now, if we move on further, you'll notice I'm not using it, but you probably would, especially for email. Notice there's some paging features in here. Size of the page to be returned, as an example. Let me go just one bigger on this for you. And so really, it's just a matter of there's not that many properties to choose from, but it provides a way that you can not only deal with the paging aspect yourself, which is super cool for things like email, but if you don't need to, you don't have to worry about it. No big deal. Now, if we move on down, you can also customize. I did a custom CSS class on mine, but notice we have a search results one here, and it shows an example of how we can override the web component CSS properties. And there's a whole bunch you can do. You can go to this styling components, which is actually the next tab I'm going to show you for that. And then what I want to show you to wrap up is notice this data change here. Now, why this is so cool is, first off, you might want to know when the data comes back, because maybe you want to intercept that data, do something else in the app, and then display it, right? Well, in addition to that, we can do a kind of a cool trick here. So my data change here for the emails, if I go to definition here, you'll notice it's going to grab the value. Okay, so it's going to grab this value 0. And then what I'm going to do, because this is a search I'm using, it's going to go into the hit container and grab the matches, the hits, if you will. And I'm just simply going to loop through those, push them into an array that you'll see right here. And then I'm going to assign them up to this data property. Now, there's multiple ways you could do this, pretty simple way here. But all I'm after is, hey, okay, the data changed. I want to know about it, and I'll tell you why. The reason I want to know about it isn't to kick off some other process in the app. I certainly, maybe I show a little bubble up in the header, who knows, that shows the count, for example. I could do that here. But the reason I'm using it is this. That data property is going to be bound. In fact, you'll see a little data right here, but see this template? Result, message. Now, there's a whole bunch of these. If I go back to the docs again, notice there's result dash star. So I could do result for message. I could do a result for drive items. I could do a result for, and it just depends on the type of data you're getting back. And what this allows you to do is you can customize this template. Now, what I'm doing here is nothing really fancy, to be honest, but I'll show you. If I scroll on down, I left the template empty. And this is a nice trick because it turns out the syntax I would use to bind the properties that are coming back from the email message, they conflict, the syntax from the web component, and with Angular, it conflicts. Now, you can override that, or you can take the easy approach. And the easy approach is go get the data, update the property, and then just simply bind to that property. And here is actually where I'm looping through the data. There's my email messages of data. I have my resource subject, my body preview, and then I'm linking to the link for it. Now, if we go back, you'll see those three things here right there. So there's my subject, I guess, and there's a little bit from the body preview, and then I could click on this to actually go to the email message. Now, what's so cool about this is it allows me to just use, whether it's React or Solid or Vue or Angular or whatever you're using, it doesn't matter. You simply assign the data to the property, which I'm doing right back here. And then once I get that data here, now I just use my React binding, my Solid binding, my, whatever it is. In this case, it's Angular. And I have a little comment here about that, hey, you could just have this render it itself. But if you want to control it, this is what you could do. Now, I want to wrap up with one more quick thing on that, and that is the calendar events. So you'll notice I have that right here. I stole this directly from the demo that Seb and team put together. So it looks pretty cool, but I won't take credit because I was like, ooh, that looks cool. I'm going to use it. So if I go on back to the calendar, look what we have here. Should ring a bell. Okay, so I have search results as my CSS class, but notice my entity types is event, not message, not drive item, event. And then there's my query string, property binding. That binds to whatever they typed, a datum, contoso, whatever. And there again is my data change. Okay, and in this case, it's super helpful because this template is a little more tricky. Notice I put an empty template, but then down below, I have that same comment. And I then am using custom code. Just normal, again, Angular, React, Solid, Vue, whatever it is, bindings. And now I have no challenges at all with conflicts between maybe how a web component binds it versus how my framework or library binds it. So this is all the code that is actually generating what you see right here. Pretty cool. So the bottom line, and the reason I wanted to show you this, is that this is a really nice way to get to that data as it returns. Basically tell it, hey, don't do your thing. I'm going to do my own thing. This is empty. And instead, I'm going to take care of binding it down here. And then it takes care of writing that out. Now, you can find all of this in that second link I showed. If you go to the mgt.dev, which is a great website to play with this, you'll notice it has all the MGT components and then the preview components down here, which is the search results. And in the docs, they're going to have the same thing I just showed you. All right, they're going to have the properties and the events and all that fun stuff down here. And then they'll have some examples that you can actually try out. Here's an example of drive item again. And then there's other properties like fetch thumbnail if you want for what we're actually going to be showing here. Makes it look, kind of nice. So with that kind of wraps up this series. And I hope that, especially for those that got to catch multiple parts of this, that you may look at it and go, well, I don't need the AI part, Dan, and you may not. That's totally fine. Or I don't need the ACS calling or SMS or email part. Okay, fine. The whole point of this is to hopefully get you thinking and saying, what could we do that's not just us thinking about, hey, I'm going to take this app and just build my database and my APIs. I mean, that's how we think. But when's the last time you took a step back and said, what can we do with the current app to really take it up a notch for the users? And these are 3 areas that you might consider. Of course, there's others that you could do as well. But I hope throughout this series, and if you haven't caught the whole thing, they're all recorded. So feel free to go back and review. But I hope, I got to take out, see you next week. I'll see you next week if I just join. I won't be presenting next week because this ends our series. But if you scan this, you can get to the tutorial, and I really do hope it kind of exposes you to some other ideas about getting you thinking about taking those apps to the next level. So there's lots of things we could do. Now, I'm going to show in one bonus point here to show you really quick, and then I'll wrap up. And that is Copilot's a big deal these days, right? So we have compiled a Copilot roadmap, and you can get to this AKAMS Copilots here. If you're interested, I'll paste this into the chat as soon as I get done. But this will give you a good idea about what's possible and how you can adopt a Copilot, how you can extend a Copilot, or how you can even build a custom Copilot, which we actually show off in this app. That was in a previous session. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you folks. And thanks for having me for these different sessions. Definitely check this out if you get some time. Catch you next week.
Excellent. Awesome stuff, Dan. Really appreciate it. This has been a great series. Again, everybody put links in the chat. A few up. I'll repaste it here shortly. Links to the previous calls. They're all on demand, all in YouTube, and all available. And I think that's a nice segue into, boy, I'm so excited. I don't know if anybody can tell. I feel like my heart's getting ready to beat right out of my chest. I'm so excited. We have got a galactic premiere. I said galactic because it's so big. We are super excited. Seb is here, and he is going to talk about what? Introducing the Microsoft Graph Toolkit chat components. Seb, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Every time I'm coming here, there are new sounds. I don't know where you find them, David, but I'm very impressed. Just to confirm before I go, everybody see my screen?
Yep, looks great.
Awesome. So yes, it is. We did an announcement 2 weeks ago around the availability or the public preview availability of the Microsoft Graph Toolkit chat components. And today I wanted to come and chat about it, show you what these are. I came here a couple of months ago to talk about the roadmap and what might actually land in the Graph Toolkit. in the future, and now we're ready, right? Now we have the bits and pieces that are there. So I'm so excited to finally introduce the public preview of the Microsoft Graph Toolkit chat components. My name is Sébastien. I'm a senior PM on the Microsoft Graph Developer Experience team. I own so many things, but today I want to talk about the Microsoft Graph Toolkit and the partnership that we have with a bunch of other teams that enabled us to build a great chat experience within the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. What are we going to cover today? First, we're going to talk about what's the Graph Toolkit. I want to do a very quick recap on what the Graph Toolkit provides. We're going to introduce the chat components. We're going to do a bunch of demo. We're going to see code. We're going to see live code running with everything that can happen, meaning broken things, non-broken things. Who knows? We're going to discover that all together. I'll also discuss a little bit the roadmap we have on the chat components, and I'll be happy to take questions at the end if we have time. And usually I'm good to fill all the time that is available. So we'll see. I'll definitely come back to the chat afterwards. So first, what is the Microsoft Graph Toolkit? The toolkit is a collection of reusable framework-agnostic components and auth providers that allows you to access and work with the Microsoft Graph. Think about them as drag and drop components you can put into any apps. And Dan today showed us how easy first it was, but also how it integrates in any type of framework. Usually you would expect us to ship React components, but the Graph Toolkit is a lot more than just React. It's React plus all the other frameworks that are on the web that allows you to use the web component standards. The components are fully functional, so there's no code. You drag the component in your app, you add the markup you need, and you don't need to really write any code. They are already functional. You configure them, and they're ready to go. They're customizable, though, so it means that you can change their behavior. You can adjust the way that they will do some of the calls to Microsoft Graph to really fulfill the needs of your applications. And they work with any web framework on basically all modern browsers today. Why would you care? First, it cuts on the dev time, right? It's easy to add UI components that automatically access Microsoft Graph with just a few lines of code. They're beautiful, but they're flexible. The look and feel that we provide out of the box is very similar to what you would expect from Microsoft 365 using Fluent and all the design principles we have here at Microsoft. But if you really want to bring them and make them your own, absolutely fine. You can rebuild or templatize or reformat or stylize any of the components that we have in the toolkit. And finally, it just works everywhere. You want to work it on the web? Good. You want to work it on mobile? Good. You want to work it in an Electron app that lives on the desktop? Good. Anything that is inherently web will absolutely work for you. So today we're really here to chat about the chat components. Hey, the main principle we had that drove us to build something for chat components was to really enable developers to embed Teams conversations and avoid context switching from one app to emails to Teams messages, back to the app, back to Teams, send a link, and all these kind of things. We really wanted to have an easy way for people to bring the chat components and make them part natively of the apps that they are building to really keep the context when you're talking with somebody. So that's what we did. And I'm going to walk you through some of these features, but here's I think a really cool video that kind of shows up right here where you can see I can write a message. Somebody can write a message in Microsoft Teams automatically. My interface automatically gets updated on the other side. So it's all instant. It's all web. You don't have anything to do. It's all connected. It has all the capabilities you would expect from Microsoft Teams, like roster management, naming groups, and so on and so forth. So we are supporting a set of capabilities, a set of different scenarios, and that's what I want to walk you through today. What are the scenarios that we really think that are the most important? I'd love to hear your scenarios, so feel free to pitch them in the chat. What are the type of scenarios you would want to build for in your own application? So put them in the chat. I'll be happy to see them afterwards. So first, we announced our public preview on November 14th. That was just the day before Microsoft Ignite 2 weeks ago. And here are the kind of the key components that we support. First, we enable creating one-on-one and group chats. Right now, we do not support channel conversations for a multitude of reasons, but we're really focused on one-to-one and group chat scenarios. We give you the ability to manage the conversation roster. So it means that, for example, you will be able to add new people, leave a conversation. You will be able to remove someone from the conversation, the same way you would do that in Teams, which allows to start with a small group of people. Think maybe about like a service desk scenario where you might start with only the person that created a ticket, but then you want to expand it to more subject matter experts. You can add them to the conversations and reach them wherever they are. If they're in your app, it could maybe pop up inside the app. If they're in Teams, you're going to be able to reach out to them directly via Microsoft Teams. Name, reading the conversation, all the management around the conversation is basically built in. See other participants' availability. You have the ability to send messages, receive instant messages, including rich content. That means formatted content, images, emojis. We have support for adaptive cards. Also, you will be able to see mention. So when somebody is mentioned, you will be able to see it directly inside the chat components. And we provide, and that is an interesting caveat that I need to do, we provide 2 React components for that. One, it's our MGT chat and our MGT new chat. Seb, you just said 2 minutes ago that the Graph Toolkit was a set of web components. Well, yes, they are. We are starting our journey with the Microsoft Graph chat components as React components for a multitude of reasons, from an architecture standpoint, but also from a market standpoint. The customers we've been working with are mainly using React, so we wanted to really approach it from a getting started standpoint, but we still have in mind to bring them to web components, so these can be embedded in any type of application. So how is that built? There's a ton of things, but we are basically a partnership here. We are in a partnership with tons and tons and tons of teams that have been working with us over here. So what does it mean? It means that we have been working with the toolkit. The toolkit is what provides the authentication, the connectivity to the graph, and the overall user experience to deliver what we love to call the outside-in messaging scenarios. We're also partnering up with the Azure Communication Services Web UI library, which was also demoed earlier in this series by Dan, which provides the chat UI controls and all the components for a seamless look and feel. So all the canvas for rendering chat threads is all powered by the Azure Communication Services Web UI library. We also work with the change notification teams as part of the Microsoft Graph organization. It's providing the live interactivity between teams and our component. That's what delivers the instant messages directly to our component. We don't have to pull and wait for messages. They just basically magically come to us. And finally, we work really closely with the Microsoft Graph APIs for all chat operations with the Teams team to provide all of the right endpoints to deliver these scenarios. There were a ton of endpoints that were not either developer friendly or not even existing back in the days to deliver such components, and now they're all available out there. So how do you get started? How do you bring this inside your app? So let's take the assumption you already have a React app the only thing you're going to have to do is to bring in basically a bunch of packages from us. The first package will be our MGT React set of components, which is our wrapper on top of our web components. Second thing is you're going to have to bring the MGT chat components. These chat components will deliver the chat specific capabilities. They are a separate package that we have everywhere else because we really want to leave the dependencies in the chat. If you don't want the chat, we don't want to pollute or to add useless dependencies in the MGT React package. You're going to need our MGT element, which is our foundation of MGT. And finally, you're going to need a provider, something that provides authentication. In this case, might be the MSAL2 provider, which is our most popular provider. But if you want to bring that in SPFX, for example, you could use our SharePoint provider. Or if you want to bring that in Electron, you can bring our MGT Electron provider or any other type of provider that we have. And then it's a matter of just a couple of lines of code. So what are these lines of code? Very simply, you're going to have to instrument your app in a very simple index.tsx, and we're going to come back to that code. So I'm going to dive into it, but I think it's good to see what this means. So first, you're going to have to register a provider with a client ID, a set of scopes, and we also provide all the chat scopes as a super useful wrapper here, so you don't have to know every single scope that Graph needs. So you can ask them all in advance, and you won't be prompted as users are going through the app. And finally, we have two components. One here, one which is the new chat on the right side here. The new chat that allows developers to add a new chat component where you can create a chat, either a one-on-one or a group chat, name the chat, have an initial message as part of it. And finally, a simple chat component that takes a single parameter, which is what is the chat ID that I care about. So what about we go in, we do a little bit of a demo, and that demo will really be helpful for you to understand how these things are working. So let me close the slides. Let me go straight to the demo. So I'm here. Quick look. The blog post has a ton of really useful info on how to get started with the chat components within the Graph Toolkit. I invite you to go and have a look at it. If you want to get started, I think your best bet today will be to go through our Getting Started guide on React. So you can go to our documentation, aka.ms/mgt/docs, where you will be able to find that build a web app with React, because right now it's only React, so we wanted to make sure it was clear enough. And you can actually create an app with chat. You can follow this guide. That's what we're going to do today. You can follow this guide to go through the entirety of these things. You want to learn more? Want to go deeper in here? Well, you can go to our components and look into what the new chat preview and the chat preview. The new chat is our new chat component, so it's creating a chat, and the chat component is rendering a specific chat instance. So all the documentation is here. You will be able to see all of the usefulness, all the different properties that are available, and so on and so forth. The events, the templates, and so on and so forth. Same thing for the chat component, where you will be able to see all the capabilities, all the different properties, those are probably some of the easiest components we've ever built on a toolkit, because they're really, really, really on Rails to really help you focus on one thing, which is bringing chat, not necessarily customizing it like all the way, but just provide us a chat ID and we'll be more than happy. So really happy about this, how it turns out. So let me show you a quick example of what this could look like. So let me go here. Let me go to this group right here, where I have on the left, I have Microsoft Teams logged in as Megan. And on the right, I have myself, Sébastien, as a user on the same tenant. Right now, the only thing I can see is a new chat. And at some point, I'm going to see the actual chat thread. Let's go see the code on what we're going to actually build here. So in here, so the same code we saw earlier, I'm going to skip on the index.tsx. It's not really where the things that's happening. It's really on the app.tsx that the real value is happening. Let's look at this part here. That's really where all the magic happens. First, we're just going to render that capability when you're signed in. I have my login component right here. I'm already logged in. If I was not, I would just need to provide username and password through the MSAL flow. I would be logged in, and that's what shows up right here on top. That's my login component showing that I'm logged in as Sébastien. I have this nice component right here that I can embed on any type of app. Then afterwards, if I'm signed in, I'm going to render this fragment here. This fragment has two components. One, which is a new chat button. When I'm going to click on the new chat button, it's just going to show, it's going to basically enable or display our new chat component. That new chat component will allow me to create a chat directly from the surface. And once this is done, we're going to save the chat that it just got created here. I'm going to set the chat ID based on the chat ID that is coming back from the chat created, and I'm going to render the chat instead of the new chat component. So that's it. I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to create a chat, and once it's available, I'll be able to have the chat ID rendered directly in my chat surface. So let's go on, and let's see that. I'm going to create a new chat. I want Megan to be part of it so the demo works. That way, Megan receives messages. So I'm going to start with Megan. I'm going to add Megan. I'm going to add Adele also, and maybe I'm going to add Alex. And I'm going to call it community call amazing people. Then I'm going to add here a first message. This is for the community call. And here we're going to just hit send. What's going to happen is going to create the new chat. It's going to, so in Teams, it's going to call Graph. It's going to create the new chat. It's going to do all the configuration we need. And then afterwards, when it's available, we're going to change the rendering. We're going to swap from that new chat components to an actual chat surface right here. So I'm going to hit send. It's creating the chat. Now, oh, look at that. In Teams, I just got a notification. This is amazing. So let me go to Teams. I'm going to see here that I just got my message here. I have the first message that was entered as part of the initialization of that chat. And I can now say, hey, Sébastien, thanks for inviting. Yeah. And then you're going to see that this is all live. Like there's no refresh, there's no polling. It's all happening interactively between both applications. And then I can go back here and add another message and say, hey, Megan, and go on and so on and so forth. Couple things that are actually really cool. I can do this. I can do @Sébastien, please help me. And these interactions will actually follow, so I will be able to have the same experience that we have, so really drawing attention for the right folks. I will be able, for example, to say, let's say Happy Tuesday, and send rich text from one side to the next. So all of these are automatically being rendered. I could go on and do a very complex formatting over there. It would also work, and so on and so forth. So that is a great scenario. Something that we wanted to make sure that we can do is to elevate this call to other people, to bring other people in the conversation. That's why we have all that roster management here. So for example, I can add somebody. I can maybe add Lee. I want to include all the chat history. I can add him. I'm going to get the system message where Seb added Ligu, and I can say, hey, Lee, welcome to this chat. And now Lee will be able to see that chat now that he has been added to the conversation. And that is really key here. We really want to make sure we have a great experience right there. Maybe we don't want Adele to actually be part of it. Now I can, yes, remove Adele from the conversation. And now Adele was just removed from the conversation. So it's really the way that we are thinking about that component, that you can bring it into your app and have it really along your productivity applications that you're building. Maybe you're thinking about scenarios like service tickets, maybe subject matter experts on specific areas of an internal portal. There are so many scenarios that we have been building it for, and we're really looking forward to see how you guys are building your applications leveraging these capabilities. So let me go back quickly to the slides and see what's next. So what's next? I think what we really have today is already pretty useful. It's quite powerful what we have today, but we're thinking even further than just what we have today. So for example, the first thing that we're currently working on is to enable sending mentions, not just being able to see the mentions, but also to send mentions from the component. So that is something that is happening. The second thing that is happening is to allow sending adaptive cards as the initial message of a new conversation. Why? Because we really feel, take a scenario where maybe you are building something like ServiceNow, service ticket, or any type of support mechanism. Maybe you want to be able to send a card that represents the context of what you're talking about. You want to have a card that brings you back to the application, to the person you're talking with that lives in Teams. What is this person talking about? Oh, this specific request that I had last week. Now I can go on and click open record, and I go back to ServiceNow to continue to see the status, or so on and so forth. And we really, really think that this is a really, really strong scenario for anybody that wants to build these. Right now, you've seen it from the UI. So the way that you can create a conversation, you can do it fully from code. So you don't need to provide the new chat UI. You can do it entirely from code. So maybe there's like start a conversation, you call into our components, you create the chat from there, you send a first adaptive card as part of it, and then you render the chat component. Also, we want to build full theming support. Right now, we only support light mode in web. So in Fluent would be called the web light mode. We're bringing in a full theming support, not only for the themes that we support on Microsoft, which would be dark, light, Teams light, but for any type of application that you can bring your own theme and really render the chat components so they look very similar to the rest of the look and feel of your application. So that's our general availability. That will create the first V1 of these components as part of the toolkit. Afterwards, we have tons of top of minds. We want to be able to provide reactions. So you can thumbs up, you can thumbs down, you can like, you can love, you can laugh, you can be angry at stuff. We want to bring read receipts, so you know when somebody really read the message or not. We want to bring a chat list component that is controlled, so you can maybe have a list of active tickets that a support agent might want to see and go back and forth in these conversations. The ability to pin and unpin messages, the now typing indicator. I want to be able to provide sending rich messages, images, text formatting as part of the component, sharing files, right? That would be great. To be able to share files directly from your OneDrive. We have components in the in MGD that provides that, so we're just gonna embed them. Channel conversations. I saw a question earlier around channel conversation. It's something that is top of mind right now. Absolutely, the capabilities might be a little bit different because what we support in one-on-one chat and group chats and what we support in channel conversations is a little bit different, but still something we think about it. Now, in the even more long term, we really would love to get to a point where we can have some of these really great capabilities of, for example, having a meet now and elevate a chat to a video conversation, to a phone conversation, supporting voice and video, maybe even screen sharing, and a ton more. So we'd love to hear you. We'd love to see where you guys think we should be going in the future with the chat components. I have a slide here with all our resources. We'd love you to come in our repo, aka.ms/mgt, and create issues. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what are the scenarios that you're thinking about. We'll really love to dig deeper in those, so we ensure that we're building what the community needs in terms of collaboration with chat resources. So all of our resources are here: docs, issues, samples, our playground, our learn modules are in there. And I did pretty okay. I think I filled pretty much the 30 minutes that I had. I'm going to go to the chat. If there's any question, maybe you want to repeat here. I'm trying to Power App. That's a good question. You could actually embed that in Power App if you were doing a PCF. A PCF control, you could do that. We don't have a library available out of the box, but if you want to bring that, you would actually be able. We support business to business, so if B2B, so you can actually chat with people outside of your organization. That means people needs to be logged in, need to have a Microsoft 365 identity, so that is probably. Custom app to a channel. It is on the roadmap. I just covered that very. I'm trying to see all the demos. It was a virtual Seb. Wow, people have a lot of requests around Power Apps. Yes, Jim, absolutely. That would be a scenario around for in-meeting app because it's a chat. The guest would have to be logged in, but it's something that would absolutely work if it's a chat that is created and not a channel conversation in this specific case. So I think that answers a majority of the questions. What I'm hearing is there's a need for Power Apps and components for the Graph Toolkit. I take that as an action item to go and research on that. We done research a couple years ago now. I think it might be back to go. It might be time to go back there. But hopefully, that was a good first whirlwind around the Microsoft Graph chat components. Please come, please build with us. We'd love to get your feedback, and happy if that serves your need. Back to you, David.
Awesome, Seb. Great stuff. Super exciting. So just one quick question. If that was a virtual Seb, was it also a virtual Megan, or did we just discover Seb is Megan? Oh, the mystery goes on. All right, everybody, let's wrap this call up. We want to thank Dan and Seb for the amazing demos today, and thank you, Dan, for the big series. You've been here for quite a while, so definitely check those videos in the playlist out, everybody. It is well worth your time. Next week, we've got another action-packed call in store for you on the 5th of December. Holy cow, we're getting into December. John Miller's going to be here on What's New in Microsoft Teams Toolkit. Waldek and Gary are going to talk about Microsoft Graph Connectors the easy way with Teams Toolkit. And Vesa will be talking about creating SPFX-powered Microsoft Teams solutions in minutes with Teams Toolkit. So I think I see a theme here, the TTT, Teams Toolkit theme. So we're excited for that. Now, we've got some more ways for you to connect with the community. You can do that via our Discord channel. This is where the cool kids seem to be hanging out these days, so definitely check that out. It's absolutely free. We've got over 700 community members in there now. It's kind of a one-stop shop because of all the channels that are in there. Everybody can communicate on a variety of different topics. It's really fun to get in there. Feel free to lurk if you want. That's A-OK as well. And of course, we'd love to get some feedback from you on if you think these calls are going well. Even if you don't, we want to hear that too. We want to let our management know that you appreciate them, which gives us the ability to get more investments into them so that we can continue to provide you value via these calls. The recording will be available within 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community YouTube channel. You can access that at aka.ms/community/videos. Do not try to download it in the chat. It will tell you that it's ready, but unless you're a Microsoft employee, it'll leave you with tears and sadness and blue screens of death. Not really that, but you'll be unhappy because you won't be able to download it. So go subscribe today at YouTube, and you will get alerted as soon as the drop becomes available. You can also follow us on Twitter or X or whatever the next name will be at M365PNP for all the updates, as well as LinkedIn. Like I said, our next call will be December 5th, 1 week from today at 8 a.m. Pacific. You can get access to all the invites, ak.ms/community/calls. Thank you, everybody. Fantastic job. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you on Thursday.